everybody? Joseph Rothschild here, aka...
That little ditty's starting to grow on me.
And we are back with another Twitter thread. Today we're talking about engines, the things that make your deck tick. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is always in this weird push-pull. You've got archetypal decks that are mostly playing one specific series of cards, and you've got a big 60-card pile of slop that's jammed as many complementary engines as possible inside it. Today I'd like to ask you about those. What are your favorites to play, and why? And I'm going to begin with this one that's become really popular really recently, Miracle Raven and its ilk. This card, along with one of the new Nouvelle monsters, has featured in a whole host of decks, but most notably Yummy, where it performs an incredible function accessing Mitsurugi. Anyway, let's see what you all came up with. Killer Kiwi says, I'll add Kash cards to any deck. I don't care, I don't care. Dark Magician Kash, already done it. Pearly Kash, why not? Fiendsmith Kash, so sexy, you guys cannot stop me. The thing about Kash tier is very infrequently do those cards actually accomplish the deck's linear game plan. They're mostly just there to be there, and frequently that's enough. God, Fiendsmith Kash was such a neat deck. Oh, if we make in fours, we search in circular, and we're watching people go, I thought they locked you. They don't. No, they don't. Shouts out to this 3-card pile that was in a lot of strategies that were just like, you know, if I go for Alimbertion, I can just win the game on the spot. Grab the circular, circular out, send Nabla, Alimbertion a cycle into the Nabla, into the diameter, and boom, you've got the material necessary for the super factorial. Abyss has a good one. I still cannot comprehend how people wanted Adventure Hit. Obviously, it was good for a brief time, but it got outpaced so insanely quickly, while the decks that really made use of it got worse and worse. The adventure cards were incredible for a number of reasons. Obviously, the fact that they could be put into anything, but also their incidental synergy with cards like Cherubini or decks that just needed extra material on field was fantastic. That said, they never felt bannably strong, and it was crazy that they released Hit on Master Duel, one of a really weird series of changes that I'm glad they stopped doing for the most part. Spence says, give me any Time Wizard format where it's remotely playable, and I will jam 3 Pyramid Turtle and whatever its best, biggest target is into the format into every list I make. Bonus points if I can fit Giant Rat in there too. So this is a you problem, but also, yes, it is funny to be like, oh yeah, until like 2013, I was willing to put some number of zombie cards in pretty much anything. They are so self-contained and so powerful. Mordiel has a great one. It's got to be the Therions. Regulus can equip a machine or a Therion, and of course that was where most people stopped, but some others were playing Reaper Foom, which like lets you bounce cards. Do you guys remember when people were playing Bull Ein in decks they registered for events? God dang. Oh god, yeah, Fright for Patchwork was in anything that even remotely glanced at a polymerization for a while. It, of course, gets you access to polymerization, but also gets you access to a material you can poly with, an Edge Imp Chain that then floats into more material. This card was expected to be broken on release, and then it took forever to get imported, and then was immediately broken on release. This shit is 33 in Genesis? It is, and they still play it. One thing I've been trying to make work is a Ishizu Shuffler plus Herald of Orangelight in Genesis. The idea is just to run it in a fairy deck that could benefit off Earth Fairy extenders, but Vernisylph isn't enough of its own strategy. Maybe Dolce might work, but I don't know how that works. This is a great one. The Vernisylphs, Mudora, Keldo, and Herald of Orangelight have become this little package that I consider anytime I even glanced at a deck that has Earth Fairies in it. I'm like, well, I could just play 9 extra cards that get me access to the Shufflers, maybe effect negation and this like consistency boost from the Vernisylphs. Usually what ends up happening is I just lose to Droll. Toy Box, great one from Adam Atta. The utility of getting cards to use as resources for the archetype, like Magician Souls, draw 2, White Forest for Cold Fusion, pop them with Sentinel of the Tistina because you can, Eldritch, and get bodies that can link climb, not hard ones per turn. My favorite part of the Toy Box engine obviously has got to be the fact that it special summons a bunch of monsters and gets you access to a bunch of really powerful effects really early. My second favorite part is that it is made with amnesthetic ink, which makes opponents forget that it has a second effect. That first line of text, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send a face down card you control to the graveyard to destroy that opponent's monster. What? You know, this is a weird one. I do have to agree. Yeah, I do have to agree. Branded Fusion, of course, is the hallmark card for Branded, Despia, a deck that has been everywhere forever. But for a considerable amount of time, Branded Fusion was just a thing some decks played. Like a couple of cards that facilitated this crazy play. Voiceless Voice, for instance, could play it to get a light monster into the graveyard. It's sort of just Foolish Burial. The thesis of Branded Adventure was that Branded Fusion really is the only branded card you have to be playing anyway. It's like a reverse Mitsurugi. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Half Mist has a great one. Obviously, I'm biased here because the engine is so good in Zoo, but the armored Xyz stuff is sick. Rank 3 that's not in this image, but Xyz Armor Fortress, full armored Dark Knight Lancer, armored Xyz, and full armored Xyz is just a really cool package that you can even shave down to just a single main deck card in the full armored Xyz and get a whole bunch of end board pieces as a result. The only problem with it is it eats up extra deck slots. It enables some 6 synergies like discard fodder and equip triggers, and it's seen a cool resurgence thanks to Genesis. I love this a lot. It is such a cool part of an end board that gives your deck some real layered interaction. I'm not in it for the levels. I'm not even in it for the draw 3. I'm here to win exactly 1 game because I banished an engine requirement. I will never forget, I think at the Philly Regional, I played against a deck that had Runicks in it during Snake Eye format. And they go for one of the Runick spells that banishes 3, and they banished, not joking, Poplar, Flamberge Dragon. We just like both looked at each other and I was like, I don't think I can win anymore. Like I don't think I have the capacity to win anymore. They were like, are you on 3 Poplar? I was like, no, obviously not. Shaddolls are always a fun engine to cram into decks, whether it be Fusion as a board breaker, Apicalone add Schism, or Genius as a weird discard in Pearly. Yeah, these are all correct. Shaddoll Fusion has become a really powerful going second tool. A lot of decks play it to this day. Shaddoll Schism found off Apicalone is a cool thing a significant amount of decks were doing because it was just so stinking available to anyone who sent cards from their extra deck to the graveyard. Maximus was great for this. And of course, Genius just is strong. There's a lot of mechanisms by which you can get this card into the graveyard, but the important part of this is you can just negate an effect monster on the field if you send it to the graveyard. Can 2 cards be considered an engine? Man, this fell all the way off. Why don't people play this shit anymore? For the low price of 1 main deck slot, you can turn any 2 bodies into a Black Horn of Heaven and an MST. Spoiler alert, it's not good. It's crazy this doesn't see play. Why don't people play this in Genesis? Shouts out to Do Warrior and the rest of the Onomat engine for being able to make 2 level 4s without your normal 4. King of the Pharaoh Imps for Mitsurugi, Infernal Flame Banshee for Ryziel, Gallant Granite for Fossil Dine and Nibiru Megalith, name for Genesis. Do Warrior is one of those cards that is just going to live in my head rent-free from now until the end of time. This card is really, really strong. In Genesis, it is an absolute house. It's pointed at 7, and I think that's still too little, but I think it is going to see a resurgence in the TCG as well. It's just such an incredible mechanism to not commit to the board, but threaten a whole bunch of really powerful effects. Master Duel specific, but I've been adding this idiot to every deck I build. A free rank 4 to get a search, Synchro 8, 10, 12, and a pen summon on top of it is too good to pass up. I've tried tinkering in the TCG, but without Scarecrow, it's just not the same. We were mercifully prevented from seeing decades of people tinkering with this card by the ban of Scarecrow. I think in Master Duel, people don't consider it just because it's so susceptible to the powerful hand traps that exist in that game, but Wakaushi really can do Cold Fusion, and as long as you lead him, you don't have to worry about his stupid spell trap effect thing. Scarlin's got a good one. Got to be rep for this, I think. We haven't seen this card yet, but it just came out. This card is crazy in Genesis and in Branded, but I think it was super underestimated how powerful it is to just jam in a deck like Dracotail with your Albaz Fusion of choice, and it might end up being just the best build of those decks. This card is just a does-it-all card, and I think a lot of people are going to be considering it in the TCG, as well as, of course, in Genesis, where it is massively pointed. Predaplants. I remember when Orpheus Scorpio and Darlingtonia Cobra came out, I was so thrilled by them as an engine. I made 5 back-to-back videos dedicated to them in everything I could think of. I've had a couple of cards released that I had this feeling about as well, but Orpheus Scorpio really can do almost anything. So I understand why you had this reaction. It's frustrating that its legacy has mostly been featuring in Wombo combo decks, but it has still had staying power. I mean, wasn't it featured in that Predaplant deck that was good a couple of years ago that played like some branded cards? Damn, Orpheus Scorpio is a good card. Darlingtonia Cobra, unfortunately, keeps ending up in my hand. Oh, man. I can't believe they pointed this fucking guy. I loved that Genesis had its own mascot hand trap. Ooh, yes, dog. Absolutely. I've always been a fan of Assault Mode. I should really start testing the new stuff and see what the engine can do these days. Well, I can tell you, Psyreflector featured in a great number of synchro spam material decks. They did have to play some terrible ass cards to facilitate it, but the payoff was you just got like 19 pieces of material for free. It's crazy to hear, by the way, that that engine has just completely fallen off. I remember when it was like the new hotness, and now it's the new nothing. Why is no one playing this? The Ghostrick engine will be dear to my heart. Go into a Ghostrick Xyz, rank into Angel, detach Xyz for shot. Shot, bring back the detached Xyz into another into make F0. Sure, you're 5 down on extra deck spaces and you run the worst brick ever, but it does make a negate. Literally true. It literally does make a negate. I mean, what do you want me to say? It makes a negate. It literally makes a negate. They really gave this thing the sickest name ever. How could I not run this engine in everything? This card is just fantastic, and they keep giving it better support cards. It's weird. As the support for this little sub archetype has gotten better, they have seen less and less play. People just tested them and found them a little bit lacking. I love the new Metal Morph cards. I think they're super cool. It's fun that they have an Omni Negate, but unfortunately now it's like the 4th thing you search in Dragon Link and nothing else. From Dino to Metal Foe to Sword Soul, if you can make a level 5 synchro, you too can brick on a counter trap. It's really hard to explain to new players how many people thought this was worth doing. I thought it was worth doing until they unbanned Danglong, and I was like, I'll take a shot at it, and realized it was really bad. Yeah, no, forever, this was part of N boards. Ding Dong into 9 pillars with a Zephyra Nui in the deck as well. There are better versions now. Scarlun is in chat defending the new Vsauce synchro, the one whose name I struggled to say. This card, unfortunately, was totally left behind. For me, it's got to be Izuna plus Lupus. Outside of a dedicated strategy that can use the K9 cards as a secondary engine of the deck, I love being able to flex these as hand traps and can go into a rank 5 on your opponent's turn. Takes a bunch of extra deck space, but I love turn 0 plays. It is weird to think of these not as a deck, but as like a Rescue Ace Impulse and Fire Attacker Garnet that make like a Nash Knight or a Ripper or something. While they don't have any use nowadays, I have a lot of nostalgia for when the Windwitch engine was used. I'm using it as in a shitty Speedroid deck. I played the fuck out of these cards. Blast Bell, Ice Bell, Winter Bell, and Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Of course, you all remember not using the Winter Bell effect so that you could play around Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. These cards were so crazy for the time, and I remember when they first came out, everyone was playing them, and then one set later, people were like, you know, I think Yu-Gi-Oh cards are just better than this now. Oh, old school answer, but I put these 4 plus Lone Fire into everything back in the day for years. Wasn't just you. It was almost every, even remotely competitive player was convinced this 5-card plant package was a necessary auto-include in everything, including Lone Fire plus Debris Dragon. They were not right. By the end of Synchrocentric's time in the metagame, it really just looked like a Highlander deck more than anything else. But still, extremely powerful for an extremely long period of time. Gage loves doing this in Edison. Even Gage is playing 3 ofs, like Gigaplant. Lee's got a good one. Lightsworn used to be a small engine people would play in 2016 that milled a good amount of cards and got you a level 4 tuner, which people would leverage into Omega, Minerva, or any of the other good level 8 and rank 4 monsters at the time. Yeah, you were playing these cards for Charge of the Light Brigade, which is just a generally extremely powerful card. But Raiden's release was like, oh shit, now you're going to mill 5 instead of 3, which leads to a lot more. And a normal summonable level 4 tuner is great in a format where a bunch of people had special summonable level 4 monsters a la Hat Tricker. Stick Chair! Back in the day, it made 3 material rank 4 boards more explosive if you're lucky enough to trigger the second part of Sovereignty's effect. The way these cards work is super unintuitive as well. It was like, yeah, it does what you want, but the 3s they would make off this card were always frustrating too. I think Evil Swarm Ouroboros was one of them. Cheapest win con ever. Hey, you watch yourself. This guy won a lot of games for me. Just by including a double nothing in your deck, you could make any 2 4s into Utopia double into number 39 Utopia into 10,000 points of damage and just kill anyone from nothing. And people did it forever. I always like having access to a generic rank 8 Xyz monster. Will be even better when we get new Dark Magician cards and we can make Dragoon for cheap. Very true. Imseti Glory of Horus and its associated cards show up all the time and everything, though people usually elect to cut down the number of bricks to 1 or 2, like they're on Imseti and Happy and maybe Kevisenuf, but usually not. I like this one too. If you don't need your normal summon, you can run Refrain, Couplet, and a couple of other cards to get access to Ostinato and a really, really insane amount of both Link material and powerful fusion monsters. Of course, these days, it is not as powerful because you can't convert those Link monsters into anything powerful like Apollosa, but you still theoretically could play it. You all had pretty good answers for this one, but I'm going to be honest, I did have a little bit of an ulterior motive when making this one. I'm just going to go through your replies and take all the engines and throw them into a 60-card deck and win a YCS. See you next time. Dyer says, making a level 5 synchro in engine hand rip, modern cards, leave spellcasters on board. I think this engine might be kind of good in a specific deck. What it does. It's going to be generator. Once I see the first generator card, I'm just turning it off. All right.